In the Puritan New England city of Salem, Massachusetts, a group of women is going dancing in the wooded area with a black slave named Tituba. Whilst dancing, they're struck by way of the local minister, Reverend Paris. One of the women, Paris's daughter Betty, falls into a coma-like country. A crowd gathers inside the Paris home even as rumors of witchcraft fill the city. Having sent for Reverend Hale, an expert on witchcraft, Paris questions Abigail Williams, the ladies' ringleader, about the occasions that passed off in the woodland. Abigail, who's Paris's niece and ward, admits to doing nothing beyond dancing. At the same time as Paris attempts to calm the crowd that is gathered in his domestic, Abigail talks to a number of the opposite ladies, telling them no longer to confess to anything. John Proctor, a local farmer, then enters and talks to Abigail by myself. Unbeknownst to anyone else inside the town, whilst working in Proctor's domestic the previous year she engaged in an affair with him, which caused her being fired via his spouse, Elizabeth. Abigail still dreams Proctor, but he fends her off and tells her to stop her foolishness with the ladies. Betty wakes up and starts off involved screaming. A great deal of the crowd rushes upstairs and gathers in her bedroom, arguing over whether she is bewitched. A separate argument among Proctor, Paris, the argumentative Giles Corey, and the rich Thomas Putnam soon ensues. This dispute centers on cash and land deeds, and it indicates that deep fault lines run via the Salem network. Because the men argue, Reverend Hale arrives and examines Betty at the same time as Proctor departs. Hale quizzes Abigail about the women's sports in the woodland, grows suspicious of her behavior, and needs to speak to Tituba. After Paris and Hale interrogate her for a quick time, Tituba confesses to communing with the devil, and she hysterically accuses various townsfolk of consorting with the Satan. All of a sudden, Abigail joins her, confessing to having seen the Satan conspiring and cavorting with other townspeople. Betty joins them in naming witches, and the group is thrown into an uproar. Per week later, alone of their farmhouse outside of city, John and Elizabeth Proctor speak the continuing trials and the escalating number of townsfolk who have been accused of being witches. Elizabeth urges her husband to denounce Abigail as a fraud. He refuses, and she or he turns into jealous, accusing him of nevertheless harboring emotions for her. Mary Warren, their servant and considered one of Abigail's circle, returns from Salem with news that Elizabeth has been accused of witchcraft. However, the court docket did now not pursue the accusation. Mary is dispatched as much as bed, and John and Elizabeth retain their argument, only to be interrupted by means of a visit from Reverend Hale. Even as they discuss topics, Giles Corey and Frances Nurse come to the Proctor home with news that their better-halves had been arrested. Officers of the court docket abruptly arrive and arrest Elizabeth. After they have taken her, Proctor browbeats Mary, insisting that she need to go to Salem and expose Abigail and the other girls as frauds. The next day, Proctor brings Mary to court and tells Decide Danforth that she can testify that the girls are lying. Danforth is suspicious of Proctor's motives and tells Proctor, genuinely, that Elizabeth is pregnant and will be spared for a time. Proctor persists in his fee, convincing Danforth to permit Mary to testify. Mary tells the courtroom that the girls are mendacity. When the ladies are added in, they flip the tables by accusing Mary of bewitching them. Furious, Proctor confesses his affair with Abigail and accuses her of being influenced with the aid of jealousy of his wife. To check Proctor's claim, Danforth summons Elizabeth and asks her if Proctor has been untrue to her. In spite of her verbal honesty, she lies to protect Proctor's honor, and Danforth denounces Proctor as a liar. In the meantime, Abigail and the girls once more pretend that Mary is bewitching them, and Mary breaks down and accuses Proctor of being a witch. Proctor rages towards her, and in opposition to the courtroom, he's arrested, and Hale quits the proceedings. The summertime passes and autumn arrives. The witch trials have brought about unrest in neighboring towns, and Danforth grows anxious. Abigail has run away, taking all of Paris's money together with her. Hale, who has misplaced faith within the courtroom, begs the accused witches to confess falsely that allows you to store their lives, however they refuse. Danforth, however, has an concept. He asks Elizabeth to speak John into confessing, and he or she has the same opinion. Conflicted, but wanting to stay, John agrees to confess, and the officers of the court docket have fun. But he refuses to incriminate each person else, and when the court insists that the confession ought to be made public, Proctor grows angry, tears it up, and retracts his act of contrition. Notwithstanding Hale's determined pleas, Proctor goes to the gallows with the others, and the witch trials reach their lousy end.